Some really important research that we do at the Learning Center is really about product characterization. And what I mean by that is when we release a new corn product before a farmer buys it, we really want to understand more about it than just handing off a bag of seed. So a lot of research work up front before something's released actually goes into looking at disease tolerance. We inoculate diseases here in Gothenburg to understand, is the plant going to resist it or not, or do we have to make special recommendations about it? Do we need a fungicide on that corn product? We look at research that helps us understand the return on investment of fungicides. And we also look at things that are important to us like green snap. If it gets really windy, how many of those corn plants are you going to lose if it's at a really critical stage? And those are some things that, we try and understand. And then another critical one is when you get something you haven't tried before in terms of a corn product, how is it going to perform in terms of what density you should plant it at in your field? So the field behind you is one where we do research work looking at corn products at a lot of different densities. We actually have them ranging from a low of 18,000 plants per acre to a high of around 50,000 plants per acre. And one of the things that really enables us to do that is this planter here. If you looked at research planters of the past, you'd have had like a rider up here. You'd have had to have someone dumping manually seed packets. It provided a little bit of room for error, things like that were a challenge to us in terms of research. Now we've got a planter that can actually go through the field about twice as fast. You don't have to worry about a rider, and things like the seed dumping that goes into the row units is all automated. So you don't have any of those kind of human error issues that you used to have. I've got a corn product here that was planted maybe at the optimum density. If you look at it, this one's planted at about 34,000 plants per acre. You get a pretty nice thick stalk. We don't have any tillers or anything like that. We're probably going to produce one really nice uniform ear, and that's typically what you'd want in an irrigated environment or a high yield environment. If we look at other things that we looked at on the low end, when we look at 18,000 plants per acre, you get a much larger, more impressive looking plant, but your potential is kind of capped by the fact that you've got 18,000 ears per acre out there. So you've got some really nice looking plants, you've got some really big ears, but you may not have as much yield as you'd expect from that type of a situation. And one thing I noticed was with how much space the corn plant had, it was actually making a tiller out there. It likely won't produce an ear, but it was producing a tiller. And then when we look at a plant that was planted in that range toward the upper end, this one was at 48,000 plants per acre. Now we see a little bit weaker stalk. In some products you can see more stalk lodging. You'll typically see a smaller ear, so this is probably an overpopulation of where your optimum density would be out there in the field. And the reason we look at all those different densities is just to understand, okay, we've got about a 200 bushel or 240 bushel yield environment. If we plant the corn at 34,000 plants per acre, what's it going to yield? If we plant it at a much lower population, what's it going to yield? So we get out there to the field and you get a new corn product as a producer, we can make that recommendation around an optimum density, whether you're looking for an economic optimum or a yield optimum out in their field. And what I really like about the research work is, before a product goes out there, you can hand it off with a lot more information behind it than we used to have in the past. So you've got, you're not going into the growing season blind, you know a lot more about it.